So Paul, obviously a bit of a disappointing result the other night. What more overall do you think the team could have done to get a positive result from the game?
Uh, we'd have liked to test the keeper more because we certainly played some good football, had a lot of possession. We spoke about that, but I think the last two games, in reality, if you look at it, we've made sort of individual errors, and no one means to do that. So it's not digging people out. They don't need to. The players know that themselves. Um, but that has a big impact on the scoreline. We didn't make those individual errors at Colchester, for example, and won the game with a clean sheet. So that clearly has an impact on it. Lots of positives from both defeats, and we played certainly better than we did at Colchester. So it's kind of the result is what matters in the end. So I'm not trying to deflect anything, but at the same time, what I'm not doing is kind of panicking or thinking, oh, we're on a really bad run of form, because form and results are slightly different. You hope that in general you get what you deserve from a game. I think the other night we didn't, in truth. But like I said, we didn't help ourselves. A couple of things went against us. One self-inflicted, one maybe a decision that could have changed. But we don't want the players thinking that everything's wrong, because far from that.
You touched on having a lot of possession there. How do you turn that possession into more chances and goals in the end?
Yeah, some of it is people taking their opportunities. Some of it is trying to get maybe people in some different positions. That was something that was sort of highlighted to the players yesterday. And it's kind of getting that balance. It's still a relatively new group, when all said and done. We change a little bit in terms of some of the things we're asking of the players, and I think they've took that on very quickly in some ways. So they've got the bit around getting on the ball and net positions. Like I said, just sometimes it's just understanding what we're still trying to, the end goal, which is ultimately to score, and getting into certain positions to try and do that. But I have to say, I think they've played some really good football, and that's been the message to them, that happy with large parts of what they're doing. To take that next step and become a really good team, you're always looking for that little bit more, and that's what we've just highlighted to them. Hopefully they can take that on board.
Ryan Taylor's coming for a little bit of flack from some fans lately. Is it a matter of he needs to do more with the ball, or is it players around him need to help him out more and make better runs as such?
I'm not going to get into a debate on that. All I'm going to say is I think the players, myself, the staff know what Ryan brings to the team, knows what his role is. He scored a couple of goals, ironically, so that before the criticism was he doesn't score. So look, you're never going to please everyone. We would all love to have Haaland in the side, and I'll be honest, Ryan would be on the bench if we had him, but we haven't. So we get on with what we've got, and we've got other players that obviously would like to be in the team and may get their opportunity at some stage. So I'm not going to really say any more than that on it.
When you lose a couple of games, is it times like this when you kind of learn a bit more about your players and the mentality amongst the group?
Yeah, I don't think we've had too many disappointments as a group today. Ultimately, we lost the first game of the season when we all said we didn't know what we were going to be, where we're at. I don't think we still know those answers just yet, but got a little bit better idea. I think we've shown we can compete. We've been in all the games that we've played in so far, and had a couple of cup games that have been kind of experiences for the players. So all that going through all of that will help bring the squad closer together. And this is probably the first little bit of, I guess, poor results. Not the results you want certainly, but it's two games. I've kind of look at it, and while of course we've got to be focused on what we're doing, but I look around and I see a teams that maybe haven't won in 10, or I see a top team like Liverpool struggling or supposedly struggling. It's like it can happen, and it's not all going to be plain sailing. I think because of kind of what we have done away from home the way we started. Maybe we raise expectations as well, and I'm okay with that because I want people to want us to do well. I want us to do well, but for me, it is a period where you want players to stand up. Of course, we said that the other night at half time, and in both games, to be fair, that we've just played, and I think the players responded. They showed that. Hopefully we don't have to do it too often in terms of that side, but we'll have to show some strength of character tomorrow, I believe, against Salford, one of the favourites, and a team that will, or have done in certainly most games, if not all games, dominated possession.
Despite those results, has the positive feeling amongst the group still been here at this week in training?
Yeah, it has. I think maybe changing a couple of players and things like that. These are, you want competition. I'm a big believer in that. It might not be for every single person out there in terms of players. Some players want to think they're in the team every week, no matter what. But I'm a big believer in competition. I've always had that. Had it in my career. Carried it through in sort of management, the squads that I want. I don't just want 11 and then some other lads that'll fill in every now and again. It's not what it's about. So I think that, I'm hoping that get that response from players in terms of the attitudes in training, which is, I have to say, in general is very, very good anyway. But you just want to see that little bit of an edge or a little bit of a reaction of some kind. I've seen it in one or two players already, and that's what I believe will drive us forward and help give us at least the best chance of being competitive, winning games and doing well.
Speaking of maybe competition, is Ryan Bennett still training with the club?
Yes, he is. Yeah, genuinely nothing's changed on that front. There's no sort of thought of that. If it's anything is to change on that, then that will be Ryan coming to see me and just then speaking to me, but that's always been the agreement, was just training. He continues to train. As I say, he's a good pro, so there's no issues with how he's, if he wasn't training properly or I didn't think it was right to have him involved, then I'd have that conversation with him, and he said that right from the start. He's trained with the first team in general, but he's also had a session with some of the younger players as well. And that'll be the case. If we can happily accommodate him, then we will. But he understands we're not going to just tailor training to make the numbers work. We're having Ryan involved. He'll go and train with Neil and the youth team if that's the case.
Looking ahead to Salford, any injury concerns or anyone else coming back for the game?
No one's coming back. Ryan Taylor we need to check on with his calf. It seemed positive, or it seems positive. He doesn't believe he's done anything. A lot happier with it. I think when he sort of had a walk around on Wednesday. Yesterday was never going to be a day to test exactly where he's at. So he'll train today, and then any decision whether he's involved or not will be determined by how he comes through today, really.
In terms of Salford, we obviously know about their quality they possess. They've had a decent start. What do you expect from them?
Again, a team that have dominated possession more often than not. They're right up there in terms of that, and I think chances created when we looked. You can see it clearly in the games in terms of how much they get on the ball. Positionally, formation-wise, they've not always been the same, and even within kind of what looks like they're playing one way, they can then very quickly look as though they're playing a different system, and that's because of the rotations, the way they pop up. So not an easy team to set up against, or to be very clear and say this is how they play. I think with Swindon that was different. I think with Carlisle we knew it would be one or the other system, which they kind of went through in both. With Salford, very different, I have to say. So players will have to be switched on. They'll have to, again, I think, show an element of discipline, an element of patience. But there's obviously some things that we've seen that we feel we can do well in, or areas where we can perhaps cause them some problems, and that has to be the case. Never set up to just go somewhere and defend. So we'll go and give our best account of ourselves. That's the idea, certainly. and I believe we can go there and get a result.